The more they hate her, the brighter she seems to shine. Right now, while critics are still shouting that Meghan Markle has failed, she is on the cover of one of the most prestigious magazines in the world, calmly talking about love, work, and the life she has built on her own terms. She was meant to disappear. Instead, she is still here, still visible, still rising. Welcome to Royally Misrepresented, where we leave the noise at the door and look at what is actually happening. Today we are taking a closer look at Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, and the story the tabloids keep trying to write about her. They call her desperate, irrelevant, obsessed with fame. They frame every move as a last attempt to stay in the spotlight. But then you look at the facts: a lifestyle brand that keeps selling out, a Netflix series renewed for more, a new Harper's Bazaar cover for the December and January art issue on newsstands from the 2nd of December, where she speaks about boundaries, joy, and a marriage in which, as she puts it, her husband loves her boldly and fully. That is not the picture of someone collapsing under hate. It is the picture of someone who refuses to let bitterness define her. This is not just about a famous woman and a glossy cover. It is about what happens when a woman is expected to bow her head and does not. When a mixed-race woman enters an ancient institution, faces a storm of hostility, and then chooses to walk away and build something else. The poet Maya Angelou once wrote about being written down in history with bitter, twisted lies, about being pressed into the dirt and rising again anyway. Meghan's story is not identical to that poem, of course, but the echo is hard to miss. She has been described in ways that often say more about her critics than about her. Yet she keeps moving, keeps working, keeps showing up. So the stakes are simple. Are we going to accept the easy story that she is a failure? Or are we willing to look at the quieter reality right in front of us? Part 1. The noise around her and the reality underneath. If you only followed headlines, you would think Meghan vanished after leaving royal life. The truth is the opposite. She never disappeared. She stayed where she has always been most comfortable, working in her own space with her own team, building projects that feel like an extension of her life. She has largely ignored the daily drama, trusting her own path instead of chasing every rumor. That posture alone is powerful. Dignity, calm, and consistent confidence can sometimes silence a whole media machine more effectively than any angry statement ever could. While commentators speculate that she is miserable, she is describing a home that is noisy with children, a marriage she calls playful and safe, and a workload she admits is full but chosen. In her Harper's Bazaar interview, Meghan talks about Harry's support, about working from home on as ever and her Netflix projects, and about how she no longer tries to be perfect. This is not the image of a woman begging for relevance. It is the image of someone who has accepted that people will talk, but refuses to let those people decide how she lives. Part 2. The Harper's Bazaar moment. This is where the story becomes very quiet and very clear. While commentators shout that Meghan has vanished or failed, the reality is sitting calmly on the cover of Harper's Bazaar. No tiara, no royal balcony, just Meghan in a sharp black suit, with a clean face and a steady gaze straight into the lens. The cover is for the December and January art issue, and it arrives at a moment when the noise around her feels loud again. She never disappeared. She simply stopped performing for the people who wanted her broken. Instead of chasing their approval, she stood tall, ignored the daily outrage, and trusted her own path. That is what this cover really shows. Her posture is relaxed, but it is also a quiet refusal to bow. Inside the interview, she talks about work, boundaries, and family life. She describes Harry as someone who loves her boldly and fully, someone who always has her back and brings out her playful side. She talks about working from home on as ever and on her Netflix projects, while her children run in and out of the rooms nearby. She admits she has made mistakes and says that real growth comes from things not going smoothly. This does not look like a woman crushed under gossip. It looks like a woman who understands that dignity, quiet, and confidence can sometimes outlast an entire media machine. The tabloids can write thousands of bitter lines. It does not change the reality that she is succeeding in the life she has chosen. Her family is together. Her children are growing up in a home she and Harry built far from palace courtyards. Her supporters see straight through the noise and follow what she actually does, not what strangers say she is. Part 3. From American Riviera orchard to as ever. That pattern becomes clearer when we look closely at Meghan's business journey and the kind of life she is quietly building around it. In early 2024, Meghan filed trademarks for a lifestyle brand called American Riviera Orchard, inspired by Santa Barbara's nickname. The vision was clear from the start: preserves, homeware, cookbooks, and pieces of everyday ritual that reflected how she actually lives. From the very first teaser, the reaction in certain corners of the media was immediate and loud. Commentators mocked the name, rolled their eyes at the idea of yet another celebrity lifestyle venture, and treated every small hiccup in the trademark process as proof that she had no idea what she was doing. But while the noise swirled, she kept building. Behind the scenes, there was no public meltdown, no dramatic pause, just steady work. Over time, the brand quietly re-emerged under a new name, As Ever. She has described the original name as feeling too tied to one location and too narrow for what she wanted to grow. As Ever felt more fluid and more personal, like a signature at the end of a handwritten note. When the first seasonal collection finally launched in April 2025, it told its own story. Raspberry spread, honey, tea blends, and baking mixes sold out in under an hour. Later drops followed the same pattern, and new additions like a rosé wine from Napa were met with the same rush of interest. The tabloids could write thousands of bitter lines about her jam business. That did not change the one fact that mattered. People chose to spend their own money on what she created. This is not about a so-called C-list film or a throwaway headline for attention. It is about resilience, authenticity, and a refusal to let other people's bitterness set the terms of your life. Her Netflix series, With Love Meghan, runs in the same direction as the brand. It is a lifestyle show centered on cooking, gardening, and hosting, with guests ranging from athletes to chefs and creatives. The series arrived alongside the evolution into As Ever, and it works like the moving, breathing counterpart to the products. Viewers see flour on countertops, children wandering into frame, recipes tested in a real kitchen, not an untouched showroom. Some critics dismiss it as soft, too gentle, too curated. But that is partly the point. In a world that profits from conflict and drama, she has chosen a slower, more domestic lane. Part 4. Kris Jenner and quiet support. Let us talk about one very recent example that shows how quickly the media story can twist and how quietly support can speak. In early November, Meghan and Harry attended Kris Jenner's 70th birthday party at a James Bond-themed event. Photos briefly appeared on Kardashian and Jenner social media accounts and then vanished. That was all it took for speculation to explode. Commentators claimed the Kardashians were furious that Meghan had somehow offended them, that this was proof she was being frozen out of Hollywood. Then something interesting happened. Meghan posted a thank you message on her page for the Harper's Bazaar cover, sharing video from the shoot and a caption about how special the experience had been. Among the likes on that post was Kris Jenner, not quietly in the background, but openly. And she went further, resharing Meghan's magazine feature and the trailer for her Netflix holiday special on her own story. Part 5, Still I Rise. And what it means. This is where the spirit of Maya Angelou returns. Angelou wrote about people who write you into history with twisted lies, about being pushed into the dirt and rising again. She spoke of words and looks used like weapons, and yet her answer, every time, was simple. I rise. Meghan is not a perfect symbol. She is a real human being with flaws, missteps, and moments she might do differently if she could. But the broad outline is familiar. The world expected her to be broken, bowed head, lowered eyes, a quiet retreat somewhere off camera so that the old story could move on without her. So when you see the next loud headline claiming that Meghan is acting out of desperation, remember the bigger picture. She is not chasing relevance, she is living it. She is not acting out of fear, she is acting out of purpose. And as long as she keeps doing that, one thing is clear. The more they hate her, the brighter she shines. Each time she rises, the story that tries to bury her loses a little more power. This is royally misrepresented. Thank you for watching and for choosing clarity over heat. Until next time.